I found it while unpacking boxes in our new apartment. A photo of him as a boy. And me standing behind him. My fiancé didn't flinch, but his mother whispered, "Not again." I found myself in his childhood photo. And I wasn't supposed to be there. We were unpacking boxes in his new apartment. Our new apartment, technically. I'd moved in a few weeks earlier. But most of his old stuff had stayed in his parents' basement. That Saturday morning, we picked it all up in 2 dusty crates. That smelled like cardboard and pine. We were laughing about how he still owned a pair of light-up sneakers. When I pulled out a faded Ziploc bag filled with old photographs. The kind with soft, curled edges. And dates printed in red on the back. I shuffled through a few, smiling at baby teeth and pudding-smeared faces. Then I froze. One photo, a blurry snapshot of a backyard birthday party. Had about 10 kids in it. Maybe more. But near the corner off to the side like she wasn't meant to be there, stood a little girl with short dark hair, white sandals, and a pale blue dress with tiny strawberries on it. I have that dress. I remember it because my mother gave it away when I was 9. And I cried like the world ended. I had a birthmark on the back of my leg. Right where the hem hit. The girl in the photo had the same one. Same spot. Same shape. Same me. My fiancé was still pulling clothes out of a vacuum bag. When I said too quickly, "Who's this?" He glanced over. No idea. Maybe a cousin or someone from the neighborhood. I nodded slowly, trying to match his ease. My stomach didn't match it. Something sour unfurled behind my ribs. Because here's the thing. I didn't grow up here. Not in this state. Not even close. I've never seen that backyard. That cake. Those kids. But I remember that dress. I remember the day it got a small grass stain on the sleeve. I remember the sandals that pinched. I waited until he went out to grab lunch. To go back to the photo. My hands were shaking. And then I flipped it over. There was a date. And that's when everything inside me went still. The date on the back of the photo was June 18, 1998. I was 7. I don't know why that year hit me the way it did. I sat there on the floor, knees against my chest, photo pinched between my fingers like it might vanish. There's no reason it should have meant anything. But I felt something shift, small at first, like a slow breath I'd been holding in for decades. I don't remember much from that summer. Just fragments, a butterfly-shaped bandage, the sound of a car door slamming, the smell of hot pavement after rain. And that dress. The one with the tiny strawberries and the white bow in the back. My mother used to call it my Sunday dress, even though I hated church. She got rid of it suddenly. No explanation. I cried. She said I was being dramatic. But now I'm wondering. Was it really about the dress? I went through the rest of the photo slowly, trying not to seem obsessed. My fiancé came back with burgers and fries, humming something off-key. He didn't notice I'd memorized every face in that photo. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, my chest full of static. He fell asleep in 10 minutes. He always does. At 2 a.m., I got up and checked the photo again. There was something written underneath the date in faded ink. I had to squint. 3 letters. A name. Or maybe initials. I took a photo of it on my phone and enhanced it with a filter. It looked like Elmen or maybe Emem. I didn't recognize it. But it felt wrong. Familiar in a way that scratched at the back of my head. The next day, I called my mom. I asked her casually if we ever lived near here. She hesitated. Too long. Then said no. Why would we? I said I'd just seen a place in town that looked familiar. She laughed. But it was forced. She said you were always a dreamer. I wanted to believe her. But that night, when I went to put the photo back into the Ziploc bag, I saw another one stuck behind it. And in that photo, he was there too. The second photo was older. It was curled more tightly at the edges, slightly yellowed. A picnic scene. Blanket on a lawn, juice boxes, 2 or 3 kids mid-run, and one boy squinting at the camera. It was him. My fiancé. Maybe 10 years old. Knee scraped. Holding a toy truck in one hand. And 3 feet behind him, sitting in the grass, was a little girl in the same strawberry print dress. Me. My breath caught. I scanned the photo like it might betray me. Like if I looked long enough the face would shift into someone else's. But it didn't. Same eyes. Same jawline. Same birthmark. Same me. I didn't remember it, not the picnic, not the boy, not the toy truck. But there I was. And suddenly, I wasn't just confused. I was scared. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I stared at the photos until my eyes burned. I scrolled through his family Facebook albums trying to find matching years. At one point, I even Googled memory implantation, like maybe there was some medical reason for what I was feeling. But deep down, I already knew. Something happened. Something I wasn't told. The next morning, I said I needed to go for a walk. I left my phone on the kitchen counter and took only the second photo, folded carefully inside my jacket. I didn't know where I was going until I got there. His parents' house. I didn't even call first. I just knocked. His mother opened the door and smiled like always, wide, warm, too bright. She hugged me, asked if I wanted coffee, invited me inside. I sat at the kitchen table. She wore a lavender robe that smelled like dryer sheets and vanilla. When she asked what brought me over, I placed the photo on the table. She looked down at it and went still. No blink, no smile, no warmth. Just a long, cold silence that filled the whole room. Her fingers touched the edge of the photo like it was fragile. Then she said, "Where did you get this?" I told her. Her hands trembled just slightly. Then she took a breath and smiled again. But this time it didn't reach her eyes. "I don't remember this one," she said. "It must be someone else." Her voice was soft. Too soft. Controlled. "I'm in it," I said. She didn't respond. I stood up. "I think you know something," I said more firmly now. "And I think I deserve to know what it is." She shook her head. "You're overthinking," she said gently. "It's just a coincidence." But she wouldn't look me in the eyes. And when I turned to leave, I heard her whisper something behind me. It was quiet. Almost nothing. But I heard it. Not again. After that day, I couldn't look at his mother the same. Or him. And worst of all, I couldn't look at myself without wondering what parts of me weren't mine. I didn't tell him I'd gone to see her. What would I even say? "Hey, your mom had a microstroke when I showed her a photo of me in your childhood?" Every time he asked if I was okay, I smiled. Told him I was just tired. Work. Hormones. Stress. Whatever excuse made his forehead relax again. But inside, I was running through shadows. Every sound made me turn my head. Every photo I passed made me squint. Every phone call from my mother made my fingers tense. Because now I didn't trust anyone, not even my own memory. The next week I visited my mom. I asked again, this time not casually. Direct. Controlled. Cold. "Did we ever live near Brookridge before I turned 8? She blinked. "No." "Did we ever visit anyone there? Like a friend or cousin?" Another pause. "No. We never had family in that area." I stared at her, watching her chin stiffen. Then I said, "I found an old photo of me. In that town. At a picnic." And that's when she lied. She said, "You're imagining things." Just like that. She didn't even ask to see the photo. Didn't show surprise or confusion. Only denial, smooth, mechanical, effortless. Felt practiced. Like she'd been preparing for this moment. I left her house shaking. That night I cried in the shower so he wouldn't hear me. The water was too hot. My skin turned red. But I didn't move. I just stood there with my forehead against the tile, thinking about that little girl in the strawberry dress, and wondering if she had cried too, if she knew something had been taken from her. The days blurred after that. I stopped checking the photo, stopped researching, stopped asking, because silence, even haunted silence, felt safer than being gaslit by the people who were supposed to protect me. Friends started noticing. One of them, Danny, pulled me aside after lunch and said, "Are you okay? You're quieter." I almost told her. I wanted to. But what do you say when your life starts to fracture around a photograph? Instead, I said I was just dealing with some family stuff. She nodded like she understood. But how could she? Most people don't know what it's like to feel like a stranger inside your own memories. To look at a smiling childhood photo and feel grief instead of warmth. And yet something changed. Maybe it was that silence. Maybe it was the refusal to gaslight myself. But slowly I started to regain control, not of the mystery, but of myself. I made small decisions. I started journaling again, late at night beneath the kitchen light, when the world was finally still. I took the photos and sealed them in an envelope, taped shut, labeled in bold marker. Not yet. And I told myself I wouldn't open them again. Until I was ready. Then one night, as I was cleaning out an old box of books in the hallway closet, I found a paper tucked between two cookbooks. Not his. Not mine. It was a letter. Unopened. Postmarked 2004. And the name on the envelope was mine. But the handwriting wasn't my mother's. The letter was yellowed at the corners but perfectly sealed. I stared at it for a long time. It felt too personal to open, even though my name was on it. I checked the postmark again, 2004. I would have been 13. Middle school. Glasses. Bangs. I cut myself. The year I first started forgetting things. I peeled it open slowly, like it might scream. Inside was one sheet of paper. Typed. No greeting. No signature. Just a short message. They won't tell her. I tried. I'm sorry. That's all. No name. No context. No return address. I read it again. Then again. They won't tell her. Her. Me? I sat down on the hallway floor, my back against the closet door, and let the paper fall beside me. My fiancé was asleep in the next room. I could hear the hum of his white noise machine through the wall. It sounded like static. Everything in me went quiet. Not panicked. Just weightless. I didn't know who wrote the letter. But whoever they were, they had tried. And someone else, maybe more than one, had chosen to bury the truth. My mother. His mother. Both. I waited 2 more days. And then I did the thing I had avoided for weeks. I sat him down. I showed him both photographs, the picnic and the birthday. I asked him one question. Do you recognize me? He looked. He looked too long. And I saw it. That flicker. That microsecond of recognition that twisted into confusion and then denial. No, he said, blinking. Why would I? His voice was steady, but his jaw was tight. A muscle twitched near his temple. I don't know, I said softly. But I think you do. He handed the photos back. I've never seen these before, he said. This is weird. Like a lookalike or something. I didn't argue. I didn't push. I just watched him lie. And then I said, your mom said something when I showed her. She whispered, not again. He froze. Just for a second. Then looked away like the words had scratched something raw. Did she? He said it like he didn't believe me. But his eyes stayed on the floor. Look, he said finally, standing up, you're spiraling. You've been stressed and now you're seeing things in shadows. I stood up too. And for the first time I wasn't scared. You're lying to me, I said. No, I'm not. Then why are you sweating? He reached up to wipe his forehead. Didn't answer. I picked up the letter and held it out. This came from your house. It has my name on it. And it was written when I was 13. He didn't even look at it. I'm not doing this, he muttered, turning toward the hallway. Who wrote it? I asked. He didn't answer. Do you know what happened to me? I asked again. Silence. That night he slept on the couch. Or pretended to. I didn't sleep at all. Instead, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, realizing that my fiancé, the man I trusted, might have known the truth all along. He didn't speak to me the next morning. He made coffee, toasted bread, opened the blinds, all in silence. I sat at the table staring at my mug. It felt like I was watching a man I used to know go through the motions of someone who wasn't there anymore. He didn't ask if I'd slept. Didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't even ask about the letter. And that told me everything. That afternoon, I got a message from his mom. A voice note. Sweetheart. I heard there's been some tension. I hope you're not reading too much into those old photos. Kids come and go at parties. Memory plays tricks. I'd hate for this to cause any damage between you two. Especially now. Especially now. What did that mean? I didn't respond. I saved the audio and forwarded it to myself. Later that day, my own mother called. She didn't know about the confrontation, or maybe she did. I no longer trusted timelines. She launched straight in. You're digging up ghosts. You're not a child anymore. Let sleeping dogs lie. That sentence sat with me for hours. Let sleeping dogs lie. As if the truth was a rabid animal. As if my own memories were dangerous. Everyone wanted me quiet. Not because I was wrong, but because I was getting close. That night, I wrote everything down. Not typed or written. By hand. It felt more real that way. More permanent. I filled 5 pages front and back. Every image. Every word. Every look. Pause, whisper. Every time someone changed the subject. Every time someone pretended not to see me. When I finished, I sealed it in an envelope and labeled it. If anything happens to me. Dramatic? Maybe? But I wasn't taking chances. I didn't know who I was protecting myself from anymore. His mother. My mother. Him. The next evening, I told him I needed space. He didn't fight me on it. Just nodded tight-lipped and said he'd stay with a friend for a few days. He packed light. Too light. As if he didn't plan to come back. After he left, the silence in the apartment felt like a presence. Not empty. Just exposed. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the closet. Half empty now. And for the first time in weeks, I let myself feel it. Not the confusion, not the grief. But the anger. They kept something from me. Maybe all of them. And somehow they agreed, silently or otherwise, that I didn't need to know. That my life belonged to a version of truth they curated. Trimmed. Edited. But I get to decide now. I pulled out the old shoebox where I'd kept the photos and the letter. Opened it slowly like a wound. And beneath the envelopes was something I hadn't seen before. A small folded receipt. Different handwriting. Old but readable. It was a hospital intake form. Not mine. Not my mother's. But his. Date, July 2nd, 1998. Patient, name redacted. Next of kin. My mother's name. I stared at the intake form until the words blurred. The date. The name. And beneath it, my mother's name listed not as visitor, but as emergency contact. I didn't know what that meant. Not exactly. But I knew what it felt like. It felt like a missing puzzle piece. That didn't belong to either of us but still fit. Too perfectly. I didn't confront her. Not again. There's only so many times you can knock on a locked door before you realize the silence is intentional. And I didn't call him either. He didn't text. Didn't come back for his things. Some part of me wanted him to. The part that still believed people could explain things in a way that made them okay. But most of me didn't. Most of me had finally learned that not every mystery deserves solving. And not every apology, when it finally arrives, is worth hearing. So I let it be. I boxed up the photos. The letter. The form. I didn't burn them. I'm not theatrical like that. I placed them in a sealed envelope, taped it shut, and tucked it into the back of my bookshelf. Between a poetry collection I haven't touched in years, and a journal that still smells like lavender. That felt right. Not erasing it. Just choosing not to let it define me. Some weeks passed. I started sleeping through the night again. Started drinking my coffee hot instead of forgetting it on the counter. I got a new lock on the apartment door. Not because I was afraid, but because I finally understood the power of having control over who enters. People started asking about the wedding. I told them it was off. Some nodded knowingly. Some looked surprised. No one asked for details. And I didn't offer any. I donated the dress. I donated the ring. I kept the apartment. I moved my desk near the window. Started writing again, nothing heavy, just short things. Observations, grocery list. Lines like, she survived quietly. A month later, a card arrived. No return address. Inside was one sentence. I hope you find what they tried to bury. There was no signature. But it didn't matter. Because I already had. Not the full story. Not the truth. But the clarity that comes when you stop begging people to love you honestly. Now when I wake up, I open the curtains. Let the sun in. Make coffee. Stretch. Breathe. And sometimes I look at the empty side of the bed. Not with longing, but with peace. Because for the first time in a very long time, I know exactly who I am. Where I begin. Where they end. And I finally get to choose. Who has access to the version of me I built. From the ruins.